Yeexʼ yeexʼ sa tinil te kat Johan ach tu yeexʼ wujin chasati ya ya dagunigi Haa Atx ande ʼaak dechigi kadagunigi neil yeexʼ yeexʼ kwalatu neil idach just zoom o kakaya yeexʼ just nask yeexʼ nach aqaqte gachtu T'aawáḳ yeexʼ tuasagui saku Skalnik Kudunuk Gwelgiwe gachtu sa we play Tledchach inach Romeo cha Juliet Julius Caesar Chadasa fences Yeowe Fear starboard you do a song we Skalnik T'aate Ho akausha atlain Skalnik Ya Haa Atx Frank Katas Ya akshati tuasagu T'aawáḳ owe Ya take the hin owe chana kawanik das away acting Lingi qinach gwelgiwe chakallad Katchatsewo kakka wasa duas at Yeowe ajowe neili kaya yechat kakwati Dakunyagi kadech iti sandechak dechigi kadakunyagi Yi dekakunik detkak inach akawe itch we Skalnik Atgachtu T'aawáḳ Yayagi Yewe achtu asaku Gun to tluk you do a sago at gun to tluk ayawan qanins you do a sago so ya kunach away awushku gunawa hayur ʻatángi chukati Deisling aya eiwú Yide kakwanik wasa wushgate with T'aawáḳ with T'aawáḳ Gwell kuntak sak shwe yawch shwe hich Gwell Kleidushu ta gwell dachadushu ʻunei aya Dekka awe ka ichwalatu ʼatángi Aqawe ya achuni Achanduagat Khatwa wasa iati Haqwa Achtu yanik Ya achlilk Ya nanan Khatwa ishan Just slinket qinach du tuasagu yuq awatani Kesh chakut yuq ʻatángi Uhan qwa Kesh qawtu ach Ajowe hatuasagu haiti dishi Helke wasak kwati Khatwa kunachawe Kleka Yanwáatxʼ Shuwatin you do a sak Do khantkhwakh Do inkachwnik ya achuni klilk Ya nanan ya yidat just linget qinachaya do tuasagu yuqewatani Tuagesagu achin yiqukhu do khande yeqwati Do khantaya watu akukh Ya shukwaya watisatini Gwell tuwuqut aya shusta Khatqewawus Ach ikagewa khatqat like Idachan khuni ayakhat Aqa khatqewawus Zisku ge tlun Like tlun zisku Just qa ikhallatu lingit yaaq Khanakawanik tlkat we qatl ka sikhi awe kakhwa us Yeexʼ Aqawe gwell qunei awe achyet awtlaqan Ho owe daklawi dichwusatian dakleo sha Khatqewawus Quchaga wa qusakhantin Qanachawe qusakhantin Khatqatlak yeexʼ ayakhat Wushu ʻatul.átki Gwell Tleqa winits gwell nasjinka winits Aqaqone Adachakwagut Shukwaya yeexʼ Deqwagut go eiwú one. Gwell gdéine cwci gŵd. Dachte. Chynnacawn I gled cach einach. Now I know I'm not alone. Chynnachaw wúke. De slín aya. A dach awe hu. De slín awe a de wutú a coch. Hu awe kwanling yeexʼ tíin. De slín choa. Duclawide. Nashat da honey. De chunde wutú a coch. ʻunei aya. Yananam. Hasuku uwu. ʻunei a data yeexʼ ʻunei. Dana a atina chayati. Wasa ʻunei a dusa yuqakwatan. Kana wuda yaw yadudzahihi. Aqawe dukhant hogut ya akhu. Kainacha wa akhani. Ho tsu daklawidi daklawsha. Ya business data we you has kausha. Aqawe chakut itikate. Du shatkoa. Na dagyach unug. De kach inach at eos. Dasa ye da ine yach ya haani kach. Ha ichasha tu shinket. Chat eos shinket gech ya ach acha shinket. A kakone aya wujin yuk atutla at konach. Kach konach uke. Kach konach. Klein at the data way yuk atutla at. Wanani soy yeexʼ waka. De gach tu aatowe gun chi shachin yuk watani. Konach we uke. Hukoa. Kesh wait dayach yuk akwatan. Ya kesh. Gwash ket katako ach ish wunayi. Wunawu. Chu oya ach ish yak wutien. Konach ach tu uke ada. Gunal chish ach isa achi. Gunal chish. Okay. Recap time. What was I saying?
I heard you ask how to say acting, or what would you call acting in Tlingit?
Yeah, I forgot how to say acting. I feel like I was saying shkashnik kutnuk, but I don't know if that's behaving like a story, kind of. I feel like Florence told me at one point, but I don't know where I wrote it down. I'll ask her again.
But you were talking about a show with Vera Starbird and Frank Katas, and I didn't catch the name of it, or if it's a new one or an old one.
Yeexʼ. It's a new one, and it's by Vera. But I said Frank is another writer who lives here. And why was I talking about that? What else was I talking about?
It could be Zoom only.
On
Thursday.
Thursday. Iti Sunday ʼaak. What is that? Time for notes. The notes will help us. Oh, like you know how to spell any of that stuff. Don't lie to me, computer. Okay. Oops.
So the Sunday before, or because Saturday is
close.
Sunday Etsko, or
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if we've done these. Like, so here's Tlek Higi, Deich Higi.
So they took the remains of, or the shana?
Iti is the remains of. Yes.
The remains of Sunday.
So if you say iti it would be the ones in the remains of it. So if we say Haa Atx, Haa Atx, what do you think that's saying? It's my new teaching style. It's like one thing just leads to another thing, to another thing, to another thing. I'm trying the spider web effect. Or what is it? That guy with the red string that goes all over the place. I know he's looking like this. It's like some kind of meme or something. Okay, it's like when I first started teaching at a university in 2008, and then these younger people were saying it's like a meme. And it was the first time I had heard that word. And I said, what's a meme? And they said, that's a meme. I was like, no, what's a meme? And they're like, that's also a meme. And I was like, I'm so frustrated. One time my wife, she's like, yeah, it's on Craigslist. I never knew what Craigslist was. I was like, what is it? She's like, it's Craigslist. I was like, yeah, but what is it? And she just wouldn't tell me. I was so, they'll just do this to me, I guess. So I had to, she's like, look it up. It's like, no, tell me what it is. Okay. Anyways, so if we know that ʼit is generally like the remains of, right? Like what's left when it's gone. We have ʼa. So we'll just put that on there. ʼa. So now we have two pronouns on either side of ʼit. This first pronoun, anybody know what that one is?
Someone. Someone.
It is its. It's a third person non-human. Relational pronoun. We'll call it relational now. I don't know if I'm going to go through and change it and everything, maybe eventually. Some of these like global changes drive me crazy. But sometimes you need to do it. So it's its remains low tone in this case, and that is the one or the ones or some of them. You're going to see this sometimes. It's not the most common of the pronouns, but you could say ʼaawáḳ, I ate some of them. And that way you can say like, I didn't eat them all, I ate some of them. Okay. So ʼita would be the ones in the remains of it, literally. But what you end up with, so I guess we got to jump down here. We go kaykiki, deikiki. What comes next? Naskiki, dakhun, yiki, keijin. Well, it stops at keijin. What comes after keijin yiki?
Okay, we're doing days of the week versus just days.
Correct.
You said it was little Sunday, right?
Let's go.
And these aren't the same everywhere. Sunday katsuko and Sunday. So all of these are collectively called Sunday ʼaak. What is this ʼaak thing?
Week.
Well, Sunday ʼaak is a week. Anybody know, recognize ʼaak?
Between?
Between. So between the Sundays is how we say week. So this is the ones in the remains of it, but this is one of those things where like, once you put them together, this is just what it means, right? And then you've got, I'll show you another one that's like that. And this means the next one. That's all it means. So if you say ʼita Sunday ʼaak, what do you think that is?
The next Sunday.
Not the next Sunday.
Or the next week, excuse me.
There
The
you go.
next one between Sundays?
The
Is
next,
that
yes, literally the next one between the Sundays. But then you put it together and it's like next week. Ya Sunday ʼaak, this week, dakhun yeexʼ. And this is how you could tell. Like, so if you just said dakhun yeexʼ, that's saying 4 days. It's hard to tell if that's saying 4 days or Thursday. But if you put this on there, dakhun yeexʼ, that is on Thursday. So this, anybody remember what that one does?
Look it up, Mark.
Yeah, it's saying at, right? Resting or residing, and it's also a time marker. Putan in the summertime. T'aawáḳ. Well, now we gotta do this one. One thing leads to
ʼunei.
ah.
So when we have these up in the classroom for our calendars, should we be having it at the end, would that be a better way to be teaching that we're referring to the days of the week rather than just 4 days?
Wait, you mean like to have it start on Monday? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, sorry, like so on our classroom calendar, like in the classroom with the kids, on our calendar in Tlingit, we have T'aawáḳ, yeexʼ, dísi, aayí. Should we be putting the pinch text on the end of those as part of, so that's how we're teaching it?
No, I don't
Okay.
think you need it. This would just be saying, if I wanted to say on Thursday, this thing is going to happen. So what I'm going
Okay.
to say, like at that time, right? So at, I think it treats time and location as the same thing. Day and dach, day is towards and up until that time. Dach is from and from that time, right? So you could say that, you could say something like that as well. I could say, Yayagi dach akadachunyagi day, from now until Thursday, right? You could say something like that if you wanted to. But what I was saying here is I was saying, if you say dachunyagi, that's saying on Thursday. But if you said something like dachunyagi chanach, for 4 days, right? So it gets a little tricky because their names are 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 day. Dachunyagi a'ak kwan kleshbush kanach wutu da'a, just zoom to nachaya. Ichtite kakawe neil yich yiika kwasatu. So I can probably shorten that. Dakhun yagich. I'll take that off of there. Ak kwan ani klesh wush kanach gach tu da. Just I like to say zoom. Just zoom away. Yeah. Ich di neil ich I kwash.
Would the M become a W if we were to do it?
Zoo, yeah, zoo. It'll be zoo for the coasties. But we will honor our inland relatives by saying zoom.
I like it. Zoom.
Okay, dakunya gik ak kwan ani ka. Sorry. Kesh. Well, ku'u. Kesh wush kanachkach tu da'at. Just zoom kowe. Ya ichte dei. Neil yich yi ika kwashatu. What does all that say?
On Thursday.
On Thursday,
Us here in Aquan
people on Aquan land
won't be together.
won't gather together, right? So wush kanachkach tu da'at, we will. So here's something pretty cool. You're gonna learn how to do this, right? So if you say wush kanachkach tu da'at, high tone, we're gonna get together. But if you put klesh in front of it, that's gonna go to low tone. Long and low, long and high. Future likes to be long and high. Future negative likes to be long and low. Every time. That's the most easy to predict stem variation in the universe. Futures like to be long and high, negative, long and low. Yeexʼ, clash yeexʼ. Put a clash in front of it, drop it down. Okay, we're not getting together. That doesn't mean no class, though. I don't want any misinterpretations. Like, oh, well, you said clash wush kadachach to the art, so I went skiing, whatever. Or you can't ski at night. Well, maybe cross country ski on. Just zoom away. Ja, echt idee.
Just Zoom.
Yes,
Internet.
yes. Neil, yeexʼ, yiika koshatu. Tiu. I almost went cake. I almost went cake style on you.
Inside the house.
Inside the house. Yiika koshatu. I'm chashlatu y'all right now. I will be teaching to you all from my home. Or I could say ʼunei, from home. Just for the next 3 classes. Then we'll back to normal. Just got to juggle a little bit of schedules because of a play. Very exciting.
In the ʼunei, is that you saying it like is there an underlined X in there?
K'wa is I'm a gonna every time. Yeah. So if you're gonna, so here's a code. So the future does have some constants, right? Gachtu is always going to be what?
We're going to.
We are gonna. Every time. Gachtu, 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 gachtu. Future, 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 future. And then you can have either kukha or kukwa. We'll learn why. And that is always going to be, I saw Robert Davidson say it this way, I'm a gonna. So I'm gonna put it that way. Because he's the master artist. He would say, like, you can't always just say I'm a gonna. I'm a gonna. One day I'm a gonna. It's like, you gotta do the thing. It's a two routine. Go by your own ambition. I think we said that the other day. Okay. We will get to the future. We will get to the perfecto. You are going to learn how to put these things together. You're going to unlock all the cheat codes for Tlingit. But for now, we're going to keep going on our track, right? A little bit at a time, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. So, any questions? All right. I said a bunch of other stuff too. And I'll just sort of, in the interest of time, I'll translate it. And I don't want to retell. It's fun to retell. But I was first teaching in the interior about 7 or 8 years ago. Started going up in the summertime and hosting these. They started out like these 3-week workshops. Very fun. Do like a week in Whitehorse, a week in Tesla, a week in Carcross. And just set it up so I would just go, and it would be free for anybody who wanted to go. And we'd go about 6 hours every day, just smashing through as much Tlingit as we could. And at that time, there were quite a few speakers. So there were times when we had 7 or 8 speakers like elders in the room with us doing work. It was amazing. And the very first day, the very first class, a friend of mine showed up after we were done. And I said, oh, hey, how's it going? He said, well, I'm really upset because my grandma's dying right now. And she's on her way, and she has switched over to Tlingit. That's all she wants to do is speak Tlingit. She won't speak English to anybody. And we're wondering if you help us out because we don't understand Tlingit. I said, of course. So I went to Shuwateen. Her name was Martha Van Heel. She was a wonderful speaker of Tlingit. She was Yanwáatxʼ. And I said, a friend of mine's grandma's, and they were both from Tesla, so she knew who it was. I said, she's kind of taking her journey, so she's only speaking Tlingit right now. You want to come with me and we'll speak to her? She says, yeah. So we went over. And there was a phrase I've heard used by Walter Sobolov to talk about when people come back from a war and they got what we call now PTSD. They used to call it shell shock, and then they call it war battle fatigue, and now they call it like PTSD. And when he talked about it, he says, T'aawáḳ, or if you were just saying it one person, you could say dultóow. And so you probably know everything except for maybe this middle word, right? You probably figure out the other parts. Dultóow. What was that?
Their spirit.
Mm-hmm. Their spirit, their thoughts, their intentions. What about ʼatángi? Walking, yeah, walking around, right? And we'll get to this, like why is it ʼatángi, and we'll get to all that. Any thoughts on what the qut might be? The other time I've heard this used when someone was talking about their own dementia as they were experiencing it. It's like I was just walking around. So if that's your thoughts or your feelings, what do you think? Like when we're talking about dementia, PTSD, what's one word you could sort of put there that would make sense?
Like lost or wandering?
Close. Without. So there are some things like, in is with. And so sometimes I used to think of, well, it must be kesh do in or something like that. And then be, no, qut. So qut is without. So they were walking around without their thoughts or without their feelings. And that's how it was when I first walked in the room. I think she was, sometimes when you're kind of in your final days, who knows what kinds of things happen, especially if you're elderly and you end up with some form of dementia. So when I walked in, she said, "Haa Atx." I'll never forget it. And I said, like, but we'll do the whole script for some. And then she said, "Ziskage yeexʼ." And I said, all right, I said, like, ʼadul.átki aayí. And I said, like, aayí latóow yeexʼ. And she said, the cut way what Okay, so now we've got our script, right? So this is, all right, well, I'll do this. So the one that starts with a dot is what she said. And then the one without is what I said. So she said, "Ach, ikakawa." What is that?
Are you my brother? Or my brother?
Are you my brother? Is how a female would say it, or someone who recognizes themselves as female. Ach, ikakawa, are you my brother? I said, "Like, ʼadul.átki aayí."
I am your grandchild.
Yeah, I'm a
No,
friend. I'm a friend of your grandchild.
Oh, friend.
Ziskage yeexʼ.
Are you moose hunting?
Yeah, did you hunt a moose? Were you moose hunting? Like, haa latóow yeexʼ.
I'm teaching the people Tlingit here.
Yep, teaching the people Tlingit here. Tlingit with what hasik kachwauz. Well, all is in there.
Something with a pot and a
Dish.
dish.
Mm-hmm. Chwauz. Yes. I have washed all the pots and dishes. Right? It was intense. Like just coming, like the families there, and just knowing like the gravity of the situation, right? Like the final days of someone, and so I just was trying to navigate this conversation and just really be loving, and I didn't know what she was going through. I had spoken Tlingit with her before a few times. I had recorded her before, and then she kind of something changed, right? Something changed. She might have recognized my face, and then she was very flirtatious, and she said, well, this is how they'd say it in Tesla. It's a little bit different. And then I said, so she said, "Qochake
Are you a wolf?
are you a wolf?" And I said, "Like yeexʼ aayí."
No, I'm a raven.
No, I'm your raven, right? Because it's like, oh, flirt with, this is your last date, let's go, right? It was very fun. She was, and then we just talked for a while, right? About a whole bunch of different, it was like she just tuned in, right? Like she was kind of lost at first, then she tuned in. And we talked about all kinds of stuff. And then I said, "Deklogut." It was, I said, I gotta go. I'm gonna go. And she said in English, "Now I know I'm not alone." And it was a wonderful, wonderful moment. But when things like that happen, a clan needs to take care of some business. So we were in Whitehorse, we were at a hospital, and then we did the class, and then we end up going over to Teslin. So we did the class for a week in Whitehorse, and we went over to Teslin, and she's from Teslin. And so at one point, someone who was helping coordinate the class and was driving me around, we drove over to their clan leader's house, Nashat Dahani, his name was Doug Smarch. And they were taking care of some business. And he had, I thought, was the coolest idea. Because, they got to call everybody and get money and coordinate everything. There's so much clan business that has to be done. And he said, every clan should have its own bank account. And every member of that clan should have to put a certain amount of money in that bank account every month. And if you want to be a big person, you want to be able to talk in public, you want to be able to make decisions, you better be putting in the most money. And if you're not putting in money, you don't get to say anything about how the clan does its business. That way they don't have to go scrambling when they got to, that's how they make funeral arrangements and stuff. That's a very traditional community. When they went there, they said, that's where the T'aawáḥ people lived. That's where the Kokatan people lived. And you know what? They still live there. It was wild. Like the town was arranged by clans. It was really cool. So anyways, they started, and then they left and they went in the other room and started talking it's a pretty serious clan business. And his wife was sitting there. And she asked me, but she asked me in English, right? What did she ask me? That's a good one. It's a good one. I can't remember this one. I think this one's.
Is it what are you doing?
Yeah. What are you doing in our What are you doing in our village? Right? It wasn't. It was just like, hey, what are you doing here? Because we didn't know each other. And so these are two ways to say very similar things. Again. Okay. So if dasaye daine means what are you doing? What does wasakiyanuk mean?
Oh, so what are you doing now?
That's what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. So I sat down and Nora Dowenhauer was one of my all-time favorite people. Just amazing. Her poetry, her spark. And I made a movie about her and Richard Dowenhauer, and at one point he was always so serious and scholarly, and he was talking about how difficult it was to bring indigenous content into schools, because he said there's still a lot of religious people who were in charge of schools, and they thought our stories were evil. That's what he said, and he was all serious. And then Nora leans in, she goes, "Who's the expert devil?" It's just so funny. But her Shinget was also she was so good. She would say something and you'd be your gears would have to really turn to keep up with the types of things that she would say. But we were in Sitka, and I had this really fun conversation with her. There's me and Zeosh James Crippen. And I said, okay, so there's two ways to say what you're doing, right? Dasa ye da ine and wasak nuk. I said, well, which one do you use? And she says, well, it depends what they're doing. I said, so you got to know what they're doing to ask what they're doing? She's like, yeah. I was like, okay, sounds good. So what do you think the difference is?
Also, you're maybe watching someone, or they're about to do something, or you're observing them doing something, and you want to know what they're doing or about to do. Dasaye daine. is like you roll up to somebody's village or house and you're like, why are you here? No way.
Interesting. So like das, there's a slight difference between these, and there's also like some really important contextual stuff. So I would say like the literal meaning would be dasa yeexʼ, what are you working on, right? And wasaqyanuk is how are you behaving, like pretty literally, right? In certain contexts and in beginning Tlingit, they did use wasaqyanuk as like, what are you doing? I'm sweeping. What are you doing? I'm eating. What are you doing? I'm drinking, right? And we'll smash through those verbs with a lot more intention pretty soon. But if you just said, if someone was doing something and you looked at them and you said it a certain way, right? Like for example, just like in English, right? I could say, all right, what are you doing here? Right? That's a lot different than saying, what are you doing here? Right? Those are two very different questions, right? Same with like, what are you doing here? Right? So for Tlingit, if someone was, there's a certain way you could say this, especially if you're there, if you're higher up on the kinship hierarchy, like if you're the parent or the grandparent. If you look at them and say, wasaqyanuk, it's like, why you like that? That's, and so you could end up like making someone feel bad if you said this in the right tone of voice in the right context.
What did you say was the direct translation of wasaqyanuk?
How are you behaving?
What was the first one? Sorry.
But like the behave though just has to do with general behavior, not like when someone says behave. And then what are you working on? Okay. And then I said, well, I'm teaching Tlingit here. And she said, Tlingit ʼaaāk. And she said that in Tlingit, right? And then as soon, like, sometimes when people say that, you could tell whether or not they could speak. So she said, Tlingit ʼaaāk. What'd she ask me?
Do you understand? Wait, say it again. Tlingit ʼaaāk. Do you understand Tlingit?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so do you understand Tlingit, right? And it kind of means, can you repeatedly hear the mouth of a human being, right? It's really cool. And I'm sure I told you folks this before. There was a guy who worked at Costco, and he was one of the receipt guys, right? And he was a tall native guy, and he was always so nice. And one time someone said, he speaks Tlingit, and I was like, no, does he? And they're like, yeah. I said, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna see. So I went there, and he was always like pretty, like kind of quiet guy, kind of a little nice but stern, right? So he's like going through my receipt, and I said, Tlingit ʼaaāk. He just stopped and he looked at me. And then he just goes like this. So she said to me, Tlingit ʼaaāk. I said, Tlingit. I said, yes, I understand Tlingit. And then we just started speaking Tlingit to each other for a long time about all kinds of stuff, clan migrations, Teslin, history, where I'm from, who my people are, who she is, who her people are. And we talked for probably 20 minutes, and then it was time to go, And I was getting ready to go, and she said, I haven't spoken Tlingit like that in probably 20 years, since my dad died. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Like, it was just like such an amazing moment. And just like, I really want you folks to make connections with speakers. And it does take courage. Like, you gotta sort of go for it, right? Like, someone speaks, like it's a big thing. Like, sometimes I would just stare at these, like Nora, especially when I was speaking in front of Nora, I would always speak so poorly because I'd get nervous, right? But she was always so fun. And the other thing is, there's this long story. I was talking to yeexʼ about this, called the one-horned goat. In the version that we had, there's no goat in the store. And so I said, I got another question for you. I said, why is this one story called, the story of the one-horned goat? She's like, yeah. I recorded it, I was like, oh yeah. Well, why is it called the one-horned goat? And she said, because of the one-horned goat. And so I was like, okay. Got it. So like working with Nora is really fun because sometimes you just got your questions answered and you're like, okay, I don't know the answer now, but okay. All right. So those are the updates. Like, so if you tell your friends, if you know someone who usually comes here and is not here right now, and I'll send out an email too, but it's just for Thursday, next Tuesday, next Thursday. I'll be teaching from home. If anybody wants to come here and run the technology, you can. But if you want to just stay home too, you can. It's up to you folks. Okay. Any language questions, things you've been thinking about?
Just following up from my question earlier, did you ever figure out a way to say like to dunk like basketball? Just curious.
No, I haven't yet. I have a feeling it's going to have keitl in there because it means to throw a single object. Right? So it's going to have throw in there. And this is really cute because we got my aayí dukatagu. Kak kucheta oe watu dujiyis we uski kap ka uski kucheta kanachwe de toasagu ash kuchet aayí akawe khanakawanik. Dad, I slam dunked. It wasn't just a dunk, it was a slam dunk. I was very impressed. Oh yeah, we bought my son a little hoop and a basketball, and he likes to play basketball now. But I would imagine, so I think it's got quite a few verbs where like, we're going to do some dog verbs here in a second. But throwing is one of them, where like there's 20 different ways to say it, right? And so what it has to do is how you throw it and what the resulting action is. So keitl is the common one, that's the go-to. Well, I guess those are plural objects, so hold on. Kanas.aat you all will be thrown into the furnace, which is like one of the most puzzling. Like I understand like they were missionaries, so maybe there's a whole bunch of things that translate from the Bible, but this actually means like people are going to throw you all into the fire. So you can see chan for fire. Ganashtade is really interesting because there's a cavity, like a cavern in the fire.
Something really disturbing just came out of the residential schools out of Canada of the young women who were raped and gave birth to the priests and the like men who ran the schools, children. They would burn their children, infants, in the furnaces.
Yeah, so then you would say, you change yi to has unless you're talking to those little things. Ishan.
Especially their male children.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So then you can have, so this one puts sh on there to hold something by an end and throw it. So that's to throw something while holding one end of it. So a net is a great example of that, especially if you're going to drift net. And then you have qiq. So qiq is the one I was thinking of. So this is like a solid object, a single solid object. So you threw a rock over there. Gant I threw my book outside. They have such great sample sentences in it. I have a slow project. I have many slow burn projects where it's like, I'll get this done in the next 20 years. And one of them is retyping every sentence that's in here. Because we wouldn't type, we'd just have yut as one word. W would write short, d would write short. Then we have a bundle of things. Shagina, dak, chosaqiq. I threw the anchor. Gandayiq, ausaqiq. Threw the bundle of firewood. So the anchor is a bundle because it's attached to a rope, which is neatly coiled. So I think it's always like categorizing things. Let's see, a ball, ʼaawáḳ, kucheta ke a ʼaawáḳ. And so that's also shooting the ball, right? Yeexʼ, what do we have? Stick-like object. Yeexʼ, ʼáak. They didn't throw down the pencil. That's way down. Yeexʼ. Now you have usually a living object. Keitl, ʼáak. They threw the dog out. Yanwáatxʼ, they threw themselves down.
That's useful.
Yeah, like a toddler, you know. And then we have throwing liquid. T'aawáḳ, I threw the water outside. I thought I think you'd say gande kundachich. No, gande kundachich would be, I think, a bouncer. It throws people outside. Then this one, you throw it with enough force that it scatters. In case you're wondering, this is the one you'd use to like throw your money all around town. Like when elders got paid. One time I paid these elders in cash. And they were just laughing and joking around. They're going to throw it all over the place. And she stopped. She goes, "Wait, is this real?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's real money. It's not. It's real money."
Wait, real quick question. Hingant khwasit says in a forceful motion. Is there like a reason, or would people gently throw out water?
Well, this would not be like too, it would just be like nonchalantly, I think. But you see there's throwing water outside underneath it, right? So it's like you were predicting the future. So here you have gant khwashit. So I threw that water so hard that it scattered, right?
Okay.
And then dana yude ashid, they're throwing their money away. But then the elder said, she said, and throwing their money all over the place. So now we get into more intentionality, I think. So throwing a spear. So this verb also can mean like to push something. So keitl, that's a command for throw the spear. Has gant kachwaguk, I threw the stick outside. We're throwing everything outside. I don't know. After this examples, you got to go outside and pick everything up, I guess. And then throw a rock onto the other fellow's back. T'aawáḳ. Push on, that's also to push something onto someone. And then you have the missile verb, zoo. Keitl ʼáawáxʼ. They threw a rock at the dog and hit it. Yeexʼ ʼadul. They are still throwing stones. It just says they're still throwing it. So stones really isn't there. Then you could put sha on the front of it, and that means to use it as a missile with the intention of hitting something in the head. T'aawáxʼ, a rock was thrown at them. And ʼáatx, t'aawáxʼ, an egg was thrown at them, at their head. Okay. Why were we doing that?
Someone asked about slam dunking and you asked for language.
Oh yeah, okay. Chief, so I would initially suggest
I just asked myself that same question.
kade ʼaawáḳ. That's what I would say. They threw, but no, well, I am now the host. I don't know what happened. I'm now the host. Okay. Where was I when did I slam dunk so hard that it just shut Zoom down? I would suggest cut a'aawáḳ. They threw the ball onto the basket. Okay, but I have to see.
Would you be able to share that in the maybe in the notes so everyone can see it?
Yeah, I'll put it on here. So, and then I will check it with the speaker. Cut a'aawáḳ.
It's like, do we need a gold medal handout?
No, it seems to me that it's more like placing it in or putting it in or shoving it in.
Well, like if you can really get up there and you throw it down, like they're slamming that thing. But then sometimes it's not. It's more of like a. I'll see what the speakers say. Okay. Since we have a visitor in the classroom, it's very tiny. I thought we'd look at Sebastian. And what is Sebastian doing? So the first one is ʼaayí. 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 What is Sebastian doing? Listening. The next one, and this was written ʼaak. So the way that I would write this now, what that does. Oops, it thinks it's a link. Okay, I was trying to go to sh.il. So, I would write this sh space il underline g high tone a s apostrophe underline x. So that is the verb. Ishqasq. So you have shishqasq. 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 What is Sebastian doing? Scratching himself. So the self is in there. That's what the sh is. Qas is to, in this case, scratch with long scratches. Right? Because there's another way to scratch, like a cat that swipes. That's a Yanwáatxʼ. And so this is how you scratch yourself as well. From the more than you wanted to know department, the letter I is in there as a peg vowel. The reason it's there is because so a prefix, right? So qas is the verb root. The prefix, if the prefix has a consonant, it must also have a vowel. And so in this case, that vowel doesn't mean anything. It's just there so the prefix can exist. There. Now you know. T'aawáḳ. T'aawáќ. I think there needs to be another apostrophe here. What is Sebastian doing? I don't know if you can really tell from this. We might need a new. Yeah, it's being cute. Okay.
Jumping.
Laying down?
Maybe chewing or biting.
Showing off its corgi butt.
Quirky.
What is kucheta?
Maybe its back half is corgi.
Ball.
Ball.
Where it's hard to see, but where might the ball be?
His mouth.
In his mouth. And he's walking around. So in this case,
He's walking.
this is a verb to carry something in your mouth, especially for a dog. So technically, you wouldn't really be saying eiwú for a dog because it's not really in their possession or their hand. Aayí. And the verb root does mean to bite with the back teeth, as opposed to the front teeth, which would be t'aawáḳ.
So that one's carrying a ball with your mouth, basically, is what you're saying?
Yes, he's carrying a ball around in his mouth. Eiwú. 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 What is Sebastian doing? Well, we've got eiwú. What does that seem similar to? Eiwú. but what's different about it? Mouth.
Mouth.
Paper's in his mouth. That's all it's saying. Paper's in his mouth. T'aawáḳ ʼatawáyeexʼ. T'aawáḳ ʼatawáyeexʼ. T'aawáḳ ʼatawáyeexʼ. What is going on with Sebastian?
His master's shoe is in his mouth.
He's
Or
carrying it around
Yeah, carry.
within his mouth. T'aawáyeexʼ. He's carrying around his master's shoe in his mouth. Ta.
Sleep.
Ta. Ta. He's sleeping. That is the shortest verb in Lingi. There's probably a few others, but just like a single two-letter verb. Very rare. And I think it sounds like, you know, it sounds a little funny when you say it. It seems like there needs to be more on there. But if you said, wasaqiyanuk or wasaquanuk, what are they doing? Ta. That's a complete sentence. They're sleeping. Atshi. 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 What is he doing?
Howling? Singing.
He's singing, yeah.
It's being generous.
He's singing. This one I do believe needs an underline. Atqudzanigh. 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 What is Sebastian doing?
Looking for something.
He's sniffing around. He's sniffing around. Sixteen yanashich. 16 yanashich. 16 yanashich. So I would separate, where would you separate those two words? Yanashich. What do you think? Ya and nashich.
I like it all as well.
And what's he doing?
He's running
He's running
with a dish.
with a dish, which is the frisbee, right? Maybe we gotta come up with a new name for the frisbee. Maybe it is just a dish. Bring that dish back here. Okay, break time. Take 5. Come back. That's it for Sebastian. He only does 9 things. So I don't know where this thing came from. I'll put it up so y'all have it. I'll update the text at some point. Okay, there was a question, which is clinkitlanguage.com going to be updated? And I update it every time we have a class, but I think you might have to force refresh it, maybe because it didn't update for so long.
Oh,
So they should all be there.
here it is. You might have to clear your cache or your cookies. That's what I had to do.
Yeah, it's your cache, homie. It's your jitch. It jitch kinda ooze. Clean your cache. Get all the old food out of there. So yeah, if I go, oops. This is what it should look like. So it should have T'aawáḳ Dísi 26 and have everything that we've sort of been looking at.
That's for real this time.
But this is, yeah, you're not the first one to say that it's just showing old stuff. So I don't know however the internet works, like shake your computer, like a etch and sketch maybe. But yeah, you should be able to just force refresh or do something.
Okay, kanas.aat.
Some kind of magic. I am having a hard time putting these things up on the Google Drive. I do have them on a Dropbox, and I'll put the Dropbox link. This is not every verb that's been sort of conjugated for all of us. And this was at a time where I was experimenting with writing the conjugation prefix in the, like right in the theme, which made some people very angry, whatever. But the goal here was to list, so I've got them listed by stem, alphabetically. I put an imperfective in there if I have it, because that's unpredictable. And then it says the verb type, the conjugation prefix, the classifier, the root, what that root would sort of translate to, then the definition, and then a few other things. But I just did this to sort of like try and get an idea of the verbs. So then I've got them organized by classifier. And I'm not going to zoom in, but I'll certainly put links to this up if you want to just sort of check it out. But if you look like, so these are 0 classifier verbs. There are by far the most 0 classifier verbs. So like that's the default. Then you have 0 plus D, not too many. S, quite a few. S plus D, very few. L, quite a few. L plus D, not a lot. SH, hardly any. SH plus D, hardly any. Then I also have them listed by conjugation prefix. 0's the most. That's the theme. There are patterns in Tlingit. G, quite a few. Q, not too many. N, whole bunch. So just something to sort of browse and look at if you're just, as we sort of like keep diving into verbs, I think it's good to sometimes go in and just mess around, right? There's another thing which I'll put up, which is also in the more than you need to know category, but you're going to have to know this stuff at some point. There is a document we're going to start taking a look at called the Tlingit Verbal Structure Handbook, made by Zeeuw's James Crippen. And there is, if you want to know how to put a verb prefix together, you can look in this chart. It's a shortcut, but it's also written in code, right? But I'll give you the decoder ring, right? So you can like, it'd be neat to have like a little thing on your wrist, and you just like click it, like first person singular, perfective, right? I do think at some point we're probably going to get someone who can build an app for this that will do it pretty accurately, but you can look right on here, right? So this first one shows you, this would be perfective, negative perfective, and negative imperfectives, right? So that's basically saying, isn't that way, isn't happening, was that way, or became that way, did happen, didn't become that way, it didn't happen, right? So like those are basically the ones. So for example, and the way that this works is you have to get a little bit more understanding of what the classifier is going to be. And then so the classifier is on the top. And then on the left you have first person singular, first person plural. So I, we, you, y'all, someone, they, or yeah, they. And then you also have it showing with this capital CV, which means you could put a thematic prefix on there. For example, the verb cha, which is to eat. Chwacha, watuwacha, iyecha, yeexʼ, watuwacha, uwacha. Well, in this, it would be ʼaawáḳ. The third person is a little bit more complicated than what's on here. But they are there for you, right? And you can look them up kind of quickly and then attach it. So then, but it's also, to come back to, it's written in code. So this capital C, what do you think that is talking about? Consonant, right? So that could be S, L, or SH. You could just switch them. For example, saku, like to know something. Chasaku, watusaku, yisaku, yisaku, wadudzaku. We'll get to why that one changes. And then again, this would be ausaku. It doesn't show you necessarily third person with an object, right? But it is there. And then same with, so that's to know something. To know how to do something would be shaguk, chwashaguk, watushaguk, yishaguk, yishaguk, wadujaguk, and aushaguk. So it is useful. It's a quick guide. So as you're starting to put the parts together, and it does show you on the left what are the parts that are in there. But we'll do this a little bit more intentional. But this one is here in the future, so we could at least use the first two tables, right? So again, some of them have different ways to say it. We'll get to that. But coming back to eating, I could say k'cha, I'm going to eat it. Gachtucha, we're going to eat it. Gachkicha, you're going to eat it. Gachyicha, y'all are going to eat it. Gachducha, it's going to be eaten. And then akwacha, they're going to eat it. So coming back up here, we could say kachwa'ak, right? So I tried. Kachwa'ak. So this is saying capital C, capital V, consonant vowel. Kautuwa'ak, we tried. Kiya'ak, you tried. Kayi'ak, you all tried. Kauduwa'ak, people tried. And akawa'ak, they tried it, right? And then you could have to obtain it, or to succeed, or to defeat them. Yachwadlak, Yautuwadlak, Yiyadlak, Yayidlak, Yauduwadlak, Ayawadlak. So this stuff is there if you want. If you're looking for more stuff to sort of check out. It's nothing mandatory right now, but we will start looking at this handbook, and as we sort of look at more things, like a whole bunch of those directional things. We went over quite a few of them last semester, but if you look in the verbal structure handbook, which is the thing I just showed you was just the prefix part of it. And as you go through, we're going to jump down a little bit. So here's a whole bunch of these directional ones. Around the outside, regarding, the back, like ʼaak. We looked at ʼaak earlier. It's on here, between, right? So this is a quick guide to look up stuff, right? This has a whole mess of these things in there. And not all some of these are pretty rare. They're like to see like blocking someone's view, or obviously, like those ones are not very common. So the way that I was presenting this stuff last semester is saying, here's some really common ones. And we'll go back probably on Thursday and review some of that stuff. But I just wanted you folks to know and start dipping into, these are resources made for intermediate high speakers and advanced speakers. Right? Because there's so much information packed into here. But when he first came out with this thing, it blew my mind. It's like this little 50-page thing that had everything, like so much stuff was in there to use Tlingit. But what we're doing is we're building up stuff, and every now and then we're peeking way ahead to look down the road to see what's coming. Okay, any thoughts or questions from anyone?
Not about the verbal structure handbook, which I do see we'll dive into it later this semester. That's one new thing. I had a question about actually some of the kinship terms and ʼaagux, ʼatángi. There's some new ones on here that weren't in kinship.
Okay.
And I was wondering if you could talk about them with us, about or aayí, clan brother, ʼáayú, clan sister, ʼunei, aayí, clan opposite. Like I know like ʼunei and aayí, but those other ones are all new to me.
What page?
And it's on page 27. It's in your table.
Okay. Yeah, so let's see. I guess going through these, maybe ones that we haven't talked about. That's this matrilineal line, but I think that's not really accurate. It would just be, well, I mean, it's not. You say ach yinanach on my mother's side, ach ish yinanach on my father's side. That's what the yinanach does, right? I guess that's a lineal sign. Okay. But that's, and so that's how you'd say ach. That's how that one is used. Let's see, the rest I think we've probably done a lot of those. Let me know if you have any questions about them. Hawaii is like
Like how does
their
it,
partner, the one that it's like I've always heard it as someone that they're always hanging, like you got two people that they're always together. You always see them together. And not like a couple, not like a romantic couple, but like that's your partner. You're always with that person. Because there's a plural of this, which is T'aawáḳ, which would be their gang, the ones they always roll around with. And that's the one they use at Pu'ik, where they'd say, and that's saying, it's going, put it under the mouth of Kuge and her gang. And that's when everyone starts banging the table and they bring the fruit, right? With their gang. And it's usually people, in that case, they're all same moiety, but it's not the case. Like, it's in the Raven stories. It's a duhuai, and that's always the one who's always hanging out with Raven, right? So that's what that one is. It's like, and it says clan brother, right? I need to, I guess I'll update that, maybe. I don't know if that one's really gendered, but.
so it may not be gendered?
I don't think it is.
But what about Shawu? So it would be like almost in a way like a same moiety best friend? Like someone like you're always like kicking
Yeah.
on, you're always getting in trouble. Like
Yeah, that's your bestie.
yeah.
Correct.
Whereas
That's
my
my
grandmother
Hawaii.
would say like someone you're always getting in trouble with.
Yeah. Yeah, that's your partner in crime.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then T'aawáḳ is a sibling. And then T'aawáḳ, but that also would be the people of your clan that are the same generation as you. T'aawáḳ. But it depends on the context, because you could be talking about your birth siblings as well. And then ʼunei, that's your clan opposite. So in the context, you would say, Haa Atx, long time ago, if someone got sick, it was their clan opposite who went to go look for medicines for them. So you're usually, it's ʼunei is different. I mean, it's like ʼaat, it's a contraction of ʼaat, which means a different thing. And then kanas, on the clan, different on the clan, right? So it's saying, if you're eagle, your kanas is just saying raven.
And what were you saying about Shawu?
I'll have to look into that one. Shawu would usually be like the women of a clan. So, but you'd also hear it as like Chukan Shah, Akeo Shah, Shawu. It seems like a possessed form of the plural of woman. I'll look into that one though. I'll have to see. Oh. Okay.
Yeah, that's all fun.
Okay, so we had a few other dog commands, which we'll just give some updates to this. Most of this is just spelling stuff. Haku, I would write that as one word, right? Kukde, I would write as two words. Most people say the day long, but I write it short. Yeexʼ, the I verb is short, or the I vowel is short, and that does mean stop. Yeexʼ, and it also means stillness. So you could say yeexʼ inati, be still. Na is take it.
So kiek could be used for like stay.
Yes, that works. And you can say yeexʼ qanu, sit and stay. sit and be still. Kuchte should be naidagu, because any form of kuch, which has to do with returning, will push that verb to go plus D. So you'd say, adewugud, they went over there. Kuch wudagud, they came back. But having the classifier have the D component in it is something that's falling out of use. You'll hear all kinds of speakers say, kuchwu'at, they came back. Kuchaswu'at, but it should be kuchaswuda'at.
Could we put under stop/stay? Because that was the one command that was like, that's a really common one of the first ones you teach.
Oh,
that's
right.
not on here. Along with wait, because that is two different commands for a dog, stay versus wait.
Yes, so you could say yeexʼ qanu, which would be sit and wait for.
What if I just want them to wait?
Yeexʼ.
I don't care how she does it.
Well, yeexʼ wants to have a verb though. So you could say ye in a T. That means wait for me. Na is take.
ʼunei.
So
if you say yeexʼ, is that another way to tell them to wait?
But yeexʼ is it is wait, but it's not like wait here, right? So yeexʼ, for example, there was a cultural ceremony I was invited to, and I had to teach a class. And the ceremony ended up going really long. I was like, I gotta go teach my class. And I stood up and someone said, yeexʼ, which meant stop and wait. So then I just waited. Someone was giving a response to me. And so yeexʼ does mean wait, but it's more like, well, yeah. I guess.
So if I'm walking with the dog, or when we're walking along and I say yeexʼ or yeexʼ, and like I'm just like, he doesn't necessarily have to stop, but I'm just asking him to, well, I guess I am asking him to stop and wait and not go forward without us.
Yeah. So that could mean like if the dog is going up, or a kid is going up, like I walk with my dog and I don't like my dog to go around a corner if I can't see her. So I'll say yeexʼ. And that means just like stop and just wait for me. And then the other one, when you're using yeexʼ, that's implying like you wait and I will be there, right? So that's, for example, if I'll say this to my kids, I'll say wait here for me, and then I will go somewhere, and that means I'm coming back. Yeexʼ is a little bit more straightforward, like just wait, hold on, without any.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, there's nothing else attached to it.
So, enough is more of like, in like dog training, that would be more of a stay, which means stay in that position until I return to you. While wait, you can put them in a wait and then release them from anywhere.
So that would be like, be here until I'm there. Okay. Gashat is catch. Hyundai that's a shortcut. I was told you're only supposed to use that, like Hyundai and Hade and Ku'ig, otherwise you gotta use the right. It's fine for now, because we haven't done the handling verbs. But once we do the handling verbs, then you don't get that shortcut anymore.
Right, but we often use even shortcuts in English for dogs.
Yeah. We'll say fetch or come, right? So yeah, it's fine. Qanu needs an underline. Where'd it go? Gidan or Gidahan. That one's fine.
So that's good. Puppy push-ups.
I would write this one short. Itli. I wouldn't. I would just say, don't. So itli is just like tlit'e. Itli is whatever they're doing. Don't do that thing, right? And so it's again, it is. And when it comes to like interjections, there are times when shortcuts are just fine, right? So like if a kid's gonna poke something into the electrical socket, you don't have to think about, oh, I gotta say, right? You might just say, "Itli." And so sometimes you do need a fast way to say the thing.
So there's, for a reason for a kick that you want a fast way, but there is a time and a place where you want to teach the dog to bring you back something and drop it.
Yeah.
And not necessarily just say don't.
So for a person, I would say janak for drop it. For a dog, I would say
Anak.
enak. And you can say that to if they're carrying it in their mouth, right?
With toddlers.
Yeah, and but that wouldn't mean like spit it out, right? That would just mean you got it in between your teeth or whatever, and you're saying like, put that down. Day away is stop that. I would probably say knock it off. Just so that we can keep in mind that that's not a polite thing to say. But like, it's fine. Like, again, it's a kinship type of thing, or like closeness. Like, if you're really close friends with someone, you can say, knock it off, right? But you don't say that to people you don't know, right?
Like when she's whining, I use that for her.
Yeah, day away. Day away.
Because she's being rude.
Knock it off. Day away day. That's the last time you say it. Ja is shh. And what's the aggressive way to say this? Anybody know?
Ja.
I'm looking for shut up.
Keitl.
Yeah, well. Someone came and observed they observed me teaching one time, and I said "chikat" to someone. And then later they said, you shouldn't say that. And I was like, we're fine, we're close. But it is shut up. So, and just like this one, it's not move out of the way. Right.
Go away.
Scram, right? Go away. Shoo, right? So again, chuk is not a nice thing to say, but it's context, right?
Yeah, like if they're begging at the table, like I don't really care where you go, but you need to get out of the, you need to go away.
Okay, hold on, I gotta find this one.
That's one of the first Slinket words I knew with my brother.
Same.
Chikayach. I think that's how it goes.
I didn't realize it was that direct at the time, though. In my defense.
You're right.
Oh, we definitely knew. We need to either go hide in the back room or go outside, no matter the weather. If Grandma said that.
There it is. Chikadach. There. So this one, chikadach. A lot of this stuff has to do with context, right? Because like in English, the phrase "excuse me" has like a million different meanings, right? Like I didn't hear you. Who do you think you are? I burped. I farted. I'm coming near you. You're in my way. I'm reaching across your field of vision. Like this.
What did
It just
you say?
yeah. It means like yeah. Excuse me, right? So like it means like so many different things. And so we were using ʼa'adeh like just like excuse me. And then the elder said, you were wearing that phrase out when you switched to English. I was like, well, I'm trying to get by them and they're in my way. And I said, what do I say? And they said, chikadach, which means get out of my way. But in the right it's not rude, like if you had a stranger and you just sort of walked up to them, it'd be like, get out of my way. Like they would be like, Did nobody teach you any manners? But in Tlingit, like if you just said that to someone, they would just step out of your way, right? This means you're trying to get by.
No, that's really useful because like my dog's taught to heel, and so that could be used for healing.
Right? And what is heel? Does that mean like?
To walk on a specific side of you to a certain paces away.
Oh, okay. Yep. And then, so I say this to my kids too. Yeexʼ, which would mean on the right side, and ʼatángi on the left side.
Can that be used only for walking, or can that just be used for just trying to say left side or right side?
Yeah, so you could say yeexʼ and ʼatángi.
Okay.
And so you could say yeexʼ keitl T'aawáḳ. Raise your right hand. Gande does not mean gande nagu. We gotta use the verbs for some of these. So let's go outside. Okay, now we gotta talk about Dempsey. Did I tell you about Dempsey?
No, I only know Sebastian.
Okay, we had Sebastian, now we get Dempsey. Okay, so I was working with Kakwan Ish and he was telling me about this. He said there's a really old guy who lived across the street. And he was Tlingit, like really old school Tlingit. And he had this dog, this really big dog that he named Dempsey, which was interesting because he couldn't say Dempsey, so he'd say Deusi, Deusi. And then he would say, A'chich Deusi, because he would take the dog outside, but he was an old man, he's tired. He didn't want to stand around and wait for the dog. So he'd say, A'chich Deusi, A'chich. So that is the most direct.
That's exactly what I'm looking for.
So if you're looking for the most direct way, and you don't, this is not a command you would use with a person, right? So, but with a kid, maybe, right? And so you could say gande nagu, right? So gande nagu, go outside, gande nagu. That would be go potty. So yeah, you could say get. So this has to be attached, and it needs an underline, and the tone will be opposite of whatever's before that. Kuchait ka nagu.
Janwu or Janwu ga nagu.
Janwu ka nagu.
Janwu ga nagu.
Mhm. Yakei keitl. Yeah, that's good. Yanshista. That's good. I'd separate those.
Question about the ga nagu. Does it kind of play off of what the high tone or low tone is in the word before it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's always opposite.
It's the opposite. Okay.
Open suffixes will almost always be the opposite of whatever's before it.
Oh,
Closed suffixes will always be short and high.
okay.
Well, no, this is interesting. So I would say yeexʼ eiwú na, which that is not what that means though. It means you just died for nothing. Or I guess, no, it's not really right. It says it doesn't matter that you just died. So I do think this is a little bit off in the translation, but we were talking about this in advanced Tlingit. The pretend verb is very complicated, so I think you would have. I think that's how you'd say it. Shkishna would be pretend to be dead.
Often it's also trained with like bang or like some kind of sound too.
Well, I guess you could say ikhwa'un. Oops, I don't know why that's.
Like, is there like, there has to be like, I shot you or I hit
That's
you,
what that is.
right?
Ikhwa'un would be I shot.
The only one I would ask if you wouldn't mind adding on it is lay down. Like there's go to sleep.
Oh, actually, that is lay down.
That is lay down, okay.
Oh, here comes my exposure of how bad my English is. Is it lie down?
Oh, I don't know.
Lay down.
It's good enough.
I think you lie onto something, and then you lay. I was trying to go over this, and someone was like giving me all these weird looks, so I was getting way off. Okay. But if nobody knows here, then we don't have to know. And so
There's
oh, go ahead.
there's another one when we tell our dog to go to bed. Like
Oh,
we're directly telling him that he needs to go to his bed.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Goodness
I'yí. Go to your bed. Yeah, that is a good one because we tell our. I would say yeexʼ. Why are you here? Yes. We're eating and we turn and there's the dog and the dog knows like when we are eating you are to be in your bed.
Haa Atx, dinner, like time to eat. Like,
T'aawáḳ. That's another one.
because I'll say go to bed, or I'll say it's time to eat, go to bed, stay, and then release her.
T'aawáḳ.
Is the ikhwa'un, I shot you, is that like kind of like a play dead thing?
Yeah,
Did I
because
miss that?
usually you like train dog, you can
Yeah.
train dogs by saying like bang,
Yeah,
like bang bang. So
yeah.
Okay, so then we had another one. T'aawáḳ.
Don't get this.
Where now? Because you could say t'aawáḳ douche. Don't eat the cat. T'aawáḳ. Don't kill it. Okay.
Pose,
What's that?
pose. So when I want to take a picture of my dog, I will say pose, and she'll hold for the camera.
Oh, really?
I know.
It was my stress relief during grad school. That's all I have to say. Grad school is terrible. I don't recommend it.
What if you said like shakshakik
Oh,
gawu?
that would be cute.
Time to be or shakshakik gawu. Time to be pretty and cute. A'ach keitl. I'd just probably say ach keitlige.
Yeah, she's looking
Shakshakik.
to retrain her and take it again. And this does connect with ʻunei said, what he said last week. This isn't just the personal project. He did say, try to find a way to use trinket in your everyday life, even if it's just talking to on walks, to your pets.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now we got all the dog commands.
Goodness shoot.
What document is this that you edited, and what is it called?
The dog you meant.
It is. Wait. Okay, that's gonna.
It's brand new.
Okay. I'll put it on our class page, which you'll have to find a way to refresh it, folks. I don't
The
know.
dog one Tom.
No, because then they will come at me. I'll owe someone a pui. Oh, anybody. Okay.
It could be a chihuahua size cootie.
Who's the one that started this document that you're editing, that you're changing all stuff?
Kuchiek. All right. A few more of these. I need person 1 and person 2. Techa kadecha. Tzatnacha kashiнаcha. Dusa de tuasuku awatu. Okay, okay. Good.
Gusu Henry,
Ukuk.
Gude Sa Ukuk,
Asitde. Ukuk.
Dasoye Altene,
Du yagu ashakuk saya.
Okay, okay. Okay, so I'll say it, Tlingit, you translate it for me, folks. Gusu Henry.
Henry,
Wukuch.
Boating.
You went boating. Gute sa wukuch.
We're using boating.
Where do you boat to? A seat de wukuch.
the channel,
Yes, he went to the channel. Dasaye adane.
What's he working on there?
What's he working on? What's he doing? Du yagu ashaguch saya. It's a future verb.
Something about his boat.
It's his boat.
Yagu.
It's going to involve a shayena.
Anchors.
This is the verb for anchoring a boat. He's going to anchor his boat. The verb root is to lower, which is why there's a house called yeexʼ. The house lowered from the sun. Okay. Person one, person two. Gook. Who wants to be one? Clock day.
I'll go.
Okay, gonna choose two. Yeexʼ. I was gonna name our second child Yeexʼ, but I got shot down. I was gonna name our dog Keitl, and I got shot down. I didn't name anything, because I'd come up with just the dumbest things. What's your name? The second one.
It's terrible.
Okay, who's the second one? Deja, Dusa. Chakuk day. Good cheese.
Gusto ihong
Shaya dade ugut atlun.
dasa aquatun.
Janmu aquatlun.
Cheese. Okay. Gusu ehunch.
Where's your husband?
Where's your older brother? And you are a male identifying person. Shayada dewugut atun.
he's hunting in the mountains.
Yes. So Sha is the mountain. What is Shaya?
Base of the mountain.
Yep, which is what part of the mountain?
Towards the water.
Where it turns up steep. You're getting towards the top. If you ever climb a mountain, like when you're getting towards the top, it's like, it's a Shaya would be not the top of the mountain, but pretty close. That part where it starts to get usually pretty steep.
So back to Shashkon's question, doesn't matter if it's inland or if it's towards the water.
And then Shayada would be the area just before it starts to turn up real steep. Sha, so a mountain, Sha. Sha, base of the mountain. Shada, around the bottom that's not usually the steeper part. Shayada, getting near the steep part. Shaya, the steep part. Shaki, the top. Dasa akwatun.
What is he gonna do? Where is he going to hunt?
What's he gonna hunt? So that's a future verb. Yeah. Janmu akwatun. He's gonna hunt mountain goat. This is one where technically you can drop that letter A. If you specify what it is, you can cut. You could say janmu kakwatun. But like a lot of speakers I think that's something that's fading, but it is technically something that can be replaced. If you specify what it is, that letter A should drop off. Well, okay, hold on. But not in this case because it's a third person. But if I said that on, so I would say ʼakquatun. So hold on. Let me correct myself. So this would be, change that to underline K. I am going to go hunting. But if you said what you're going to hunt, Elmer Fudd, now the letter A falls off. Not every verb does that, but there's a few of them that have this letter A just frozen on there. And we'll take a look at what those things are. Everybody should read before we go.
Hut.
Inchish. Dacha. Second one. Good.
Gusujan. Astech akwe ukhu.
Kejin T'aawáḳ ke'agux yeexʼ.
Inchish. Gusujan. Where's John? Wukuch. John went boating. Astech akwe wukuch.
Is he fishing for hook?
Yes, but there's a little bit more to it.
Did he go out fishing?
On the boat?
Did he go out? Did he go boating, fishing? Right? I don't know how to do that in English. Did he go out fishing? I think yeah, that's good. Right? Nobody knows that one?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. I knew that was going to happen. Keitl yeexʼ. 5.
5 king salmon.
King salmon.
Big.
Big plurals. yeexʼ. Yes, specifically pulled them up. There's a couple different ways you could say this. This is one way to say it. And that means he pulled the line up, right? Or they pulled the line up. So he caught 5 big king salmon.
And astech means like fishing with a line versus like fishing with a net.
Yes, that's correct. 1 and 2.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, gonna cheesh. One more. Good.
David.
Cool.
Dana we wukuch. Aseku ke auseku ke dana.
Okay. Gusu David. Wukuch. The next akwe wukuch.
Is he voting for halibut?
Yes. Is he setting halibut? Nowadays we would say skates, but this wouldn't be a halibut skate. It wouldn't be a halibut skate a long time ago, right? A skate is like a string of halibut hooks, right? About 6 feet apart, something like that. What would this be a long time ago?
There's like halibut hooks, right?
On a buoy.
Are they fishing with halibut hooks? That's what that means. And then aushukuk the nuts. Oh, this is the answer that lets you go home.
Where's the halibut?
What was that? It was in like that Denzel Washington. He was like, you want to go home? You want to go to jail? You want to go home? You want to hit the verb dictionary? Aushukuk. They know how to do it. Do they know how to do it? Danaqt, fishing for halibut. Do they know how to fish for halibut? Technically, in the old. Oh, yeah. Sheesh. So a long time ago, that would have been saying, do they know how to fish with halibut hooks? Which would mean they better know all the, you're supposed to say things to your halibut hook. Sometimes you blow spit on it. You had all kinds of things to make sure that hook is going to taunt
So
that halibut.
no, is halibut hook is dana plural of halibut hooks?
Oh, that's a really good question. Okay, so naq is a verb root, but it's also a noun. What is naq?
Medicine.
Halibut hook? Knock, oh no wait,
Naq.
Is that a octopus?
Naq is an octopus. As a verb root,
Oh.
an octopus is bait.
Oh.
So this naq as a verb root is baiting hooks.
You've said this.
But danaqt, what this is a repetitive marker. But this is the marker that says you're doing something in a series, like sewing, those stitches, daqays. It's a repeating pattern. This way, this way, this way, this way. And baiting hooks, you're gonna bait it, set it, bait it, set it, bait it, set it. There you go. I gotta go home. Cheesh, Klein. So you know, the next Tuesday, next Thursday, then we're back in the room.
So Zoom for the next 3 classes.
Yeah, well, I'll send out an email reminder, as long as I remember to do it. I'd say like an 80% chance it's gonna happen.
Cheese.
Sheesh.
Okay.
Shakuk.
Yeah, can you just say it like that?
Do they know how to do it?
Yeah.
Things happen in fours. Everything created
How do I
on this.
can I take a look at the notes really quick so I can just take a photo with my phone of the dunk
Do you remember
one more time?
If you airdrop it to me, I can text it to Casey,
Oh, okay.
the dog one. Are you wanting the dog one?
I want the dog
Kate?
one.
More times I get hungry.
The dunk.
Oh, the dunk, never
In the
mind.
I
morning,
want the document.
in the afternoon.
I was just talking to a friend
Yeah,
about
but-
dog commands today too.
And then that would say they threw the
Okay, absolutely.
The dog you meant.
Yeah, we'll go for
Like
the
that's what
dog.
it looks like.
okay.
I can't believe you really named it the dog you meant. That's so good.
Document.
We're talking about having a naming ceremony for Chavella, because
Yeexʼ.
but she's dog wonton.